Good evening, Professor and fellow students. Cryptocurrency is one of the largest economies on the planet, with just Bitcoin increasing to over 500% in the last year, and its market cap increasing to over $942 billion. That's a larger market cap than Brazil. However, with its rising popularity and profits, so too does the power consumption to mine these coins also rise. With climate change becoming an ever more prescient issue, we must scrutinize the environmental impact of these mining operations. And due to these coins' lack of physical presence, the impact is rarely talked about or noticed, even with its exponential growth. In this speech, I will cover what cryptocurrency is in simple terms, describe the growing power consumption of producing cryptocurrency, and describe the environmental impacts of said production. Now, what is cryptocurrency? For this speech, I'll be focusing on Bitcoin as it's the most popular of all the cryptocurrencies out there. Bitcoin is a completely digital currency that is not considered fiat, that is not backed by any government. Rather, the currency's balances are kept on decentralized ledgers that have public access. The coin is traded by using blockchain. In simplest terms, blockchain is the process that allows several computers to use their processing power to solve math problems that passes a transaction from block to block until the transaction reaches its final recipient. The actual mining of the coin comes from this processing power. By lending your computer's processing power to the blockchain, you earn more coins. As the price of the coin increases, however, so too does the amount of processing power required to mine these coins. So Bitcoin mining rigs are built with graphics cards working ceaselessly to mine these coins. Aria Jules, a computer scientist at Cornell Tech, stated in an interview with The New Yorker that what was quickly discovered is that specialized computing devices, so-called mining rigs, are much, much more effective at solving these puzzles. These farms use an exorbitant amount of power. How much power, you ask? Well, according to the website Digiconomist, one single Bitcoin transaction uses over 1,050 kilowatt hours worth of power. By comparison, the average US household uses that much power in 36 days. Not only that, but the Bitcoin network itself consumes over 105 terawatt hours annually. That's more than the entire country of Kazakhstan uses yearly. And according to Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance, the amount of electricity consumed by the Bitcoin network in 1 year could power all tea kettles used to boil water in the United Kingdom for 27 years. These transactions can also be compared to a similar digital transaction service, Visa. Visa can do 700,000 transactions for the amount of power required to do one single Bitcoin transaction. Generating and consuming this much power develops tons of CO2, and the coin's rising prices increases the incentive to generate and consume that power. The largest portion of Bitcoin mining takes place in China, making up over 65% of total production. In an article in Natural Communications, Shangrong Zhang posits that the growing energy consumption and associated carbon emissions of Bitcoin mining could potentially undermine global sustainability efforts, and that we find without any policy interventions, the annual energy consumption of the Bitcoin blockchain in China is expected to peak in 2024 at 296.59 terawatt hours and generate 13.5 million metric tons of carbon emission correspondingly. Currently, the carbon footprint of Bitcoin is approximately 50 million tons of CO2 annually, which is more than the entire country of Bulgaria generates in 1 year. This is about 0.15% of all energy-related CO2 emissions of the world. Additionally, cryptocurrency mining creates tons of e-waste being discarded electronic devices. In an interview with eScrap News, Alex de Vries, a senior consultant and blockchain specialist, stated that in his current estimate, there is 11.27 kilotons of e-waste that is annually generated by cryptocurrency mining, as more and more processing power is added to the mining operation. This amount is comparable to the total e-waste of a country like Luxembourg, also annually. As you've heard here today, cryptocurrency, and more specifically Bitcoin, has an ever-increasing power requirement. As the mining operations continue to grow, so too will the CO2 output. With no regulations or interventions, crypto mining may begin to undermine the world's sustainability efforts that are becoming more and more important as the year go by and emissions increase. What more, the constant requirement for more and newer graphics cards is creating as much e-waste as a small country. With all this in mind, it is important to share this information, especially due to cryptocurrency's lack of physical presence, already making it a difficult thing to conceptualize.